Chosen one, you've carried names that were never yours. They called you weak, but heaven called you strong. They called you broken, but heaven called you whole. They called you lost, when heaven had already marked your path. But hear this, today the veil is lifting. It's time you finally know who you really are. Since the beginning, the enemy has tried to bury your true identity under lies and fear. He used voices of family, friends, even strangers to convince you that you were ordinary, unworthy, replaceable. But if you were ordinary, you would not have been fought so fiercely. The very battles you've survived are proof of the treasure you carry. Isaiah 62:2 declares, "You will be called by a new name that the mouth of the Lord will bestow." This is heaven's promise, not the name pain gave you, not the name rejection gave you, but the name heaven wrote over your life before you were born. And in this message, you will see it. You will discover your divine identity, why the world tried to bury it, and why heaven is unveiling it now. The final revelation will prove you were never who they said you were. You were always who heaven declared you to be. So don't look away. This is the moment of unveiling, the moment your soul finally breathes again. If your spirit feels this, pause now, like this message, subscribe to this channel, and comment "I am chosen" as a prophetic act, declaring, "I reject the lies and embrace the truth of who I am." Now, let us begin. From the moment you entered this world, voices tried to shape your identity. Some spoke blessing, but many planted lies, words that sank deep into your soul, growing like weeds that choked the truth of who you were meant to be. Maybe you were told you were a mistake. Too much, too loud, too sensitive, or never enough. Maybe rejection left its fingerprints so early you wondered if you would ever be loved. Those voices became shadows that followed you everywhere. And after a while, you started to believe them. How many times did you lower your head because someone told you that you didn't belong? How many times did you silence your gift because someone said it had no value? How many times did you look in the mirror and only see the reflection of their words? The world is quick to label. It names you by your failures, your pain, your scars. It calls you by mistakes, but not by mission, by wounds, but not by worth. And you carried those false names for years: failure, outcast, broken, ordinary. They clung to you like heavy garments, making you forget the royal robe heaven had already placed on your shoulders. But heaven never changed its word about you. God has never called you by the lies spoken over you. He calls you by the truth. He calls you his. Look at Jacob. His very name meant deceiver. Every introduction was a reminder of what people thought of him. But one encounter changed everything. In Genesis 32, after wrestling through the night, heaven renamed him Israel, one who prevails with God. The world called him deceiver. Heaven called him victorious. Do you see it? Chosen one? The label you carried is not the name heaven wrote for you. This is why the enemy fights to rename you. If he can trap you under false labels, you'll never walk in true authority. He uses rejection to whisper you're unworthy, trauma to say you're broken beyond repair, comparison to convince you you're ordinary. But the very depth of the attack is proof your identity carries weight in the spirit. And maybe right now your heart feels the tension, because you've believed the lies so long they almost became second nature. But deep inside, something has always whispered, "There's more to me than this." That whisper is heaven breaking through, reminding you, you are not who they said you were. You never were. John 8:32 says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." This is your moment of freedom. The truth is breaking chains of false identity. Every lie, every false name, every label is being burned away. You are not your mistakes, not your past, not the sum of rejection. You are the sum of heaven's declaration. And this is the unveiling. When you strip away the names the world gave you, you begin to see what heaven has always seen: strength where you thought there was weakness, purpose where you thought there was pain, authority where you thought there was shame. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not ordinary. You are set apart for such a time as this. But this is only the first step. Because if lies tried to bury you, heaven has also been shaping you in silence. And in the wilderness, your true identity has been forming, waiting to be revealed. The wilderness is not a place of punishment. It is a place of preparation. It strips away distractions until only truth remains. If you've wondered why you were set apart, why doors closed, why you walked alone, it was never abandonment. It was heaven hiding you until the right time. Moses knew this. 40 years in the desert, far from Egypt's palace. He thought his life was over, yet the wilderness was where he met the burning bush. The place he thought was exile became the place of encounter. David knew it too. Anointed as king but left with sheep. Ignored by his family, hunted by Saul, forced into caves. Yet it was there he learned worship that shook heaven, courage that defeated giants, and leadership forged in solitude. So it has been with you. The wilderness has been your teacher. It taught you to hear God's whisper when every other voice went silent. It showed you strength you didn't know you had. It built in you the resilience that comfort could never give. Yes, it hurt. Yes, you cried in secret. But even those tears were training. Even silence was shaping. The wilderness purified your vision and cut away what could not walk with you into destiny. Hosea 2:14 says, I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. That is what God has done with you. In isolation, He spoke identity. In quiet, He revealed worth. In waiting, He wrote destiny on your soul. Chosen one, what looked like exile was sanctuary. Heaven was not ignoring you. It was investing in you. And the hidden years you despised are about to prove why you were set apart. Because the wilderness is never the end. It is the bridge. The place between who you were and who you are called to be. And now the wilderness has done its work. The identity formed in silence is ready to be revealed. But there is more. Because once you see what the wilderness gave you, you will also understand why the enemy fought your voice so violently. And that is what we must uncover next. When identity is revealed, authority follows. Because authority does not come from titles, platforms, or applause. It flows from knowing who you are in God. Look at Moses. Once he thought he was just a fugitive in the desert, but when he stood before Pharaoh, staff in hand, heaven's authority flowed through him. The man who once stuttered became the voice that commanded kings. David, too. Ignored by his family, underestimated by Saul. But when he stepped onto the battlefield, he did not come in sword or armor. He came in the authority of the Lord, and with one stone the giant fell. Authority is not noise, it is weight. It is the unseen mantle that makes demons tremble and chains break. It comes not from trying harder, but from heaven's seal resting on your life. Chosen one, this is why your process was so intense. Because heaven was not only revealing who you are, it was clothing you in authority. The wilderness stripped away false strength, so true strength could be born. Your silence deepened your discernment. Your scars gave weight to your words. Now when you speak, it will not be empty sound, but spirit-filled command. Luke 10:19 declares, I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. This is your inheritance. Authority not rooted in fear, but in victory. Not in striving, but in identity. And perhaps you've already noticed it. How atmospheres shift when you pray. How people lean in when you speak. How even your presence carries peace that cannot be explained. That is not personality. It is authority. But authority is never for self. It is always for service. Moses' authority freed a nation. David's authority united a kingdom. Your authority will awaken those tied to your destiny. This is the unveiling. You were never powerless. You were being prepared to walk in spiritual authority. And now heaven says, step into it. But there is still more. Because authority is not the end. It points to your destiny. The revelation of who you are was never just for you. It was always for what you were born to do. There are treasures heaven placed in you long before you were aware, an inheritance written over your life that trials tried to make you forget. Pain convinced you it was gone, but heaven never changed its decree. Think of the prodigal son. He squandered everything, ended in famine, feeding pigs. But when he returned, the father ran to him, placed a robe, a ring, and sandals on him. The inheritance had always been his, even when he forgot. So it is with you. Life's weight made you forget what was always yours. You thought love had left, but heaven says you are still beloved. You thought purpose was lost, but your assignment was never revoked. You thought hope was gone, but hope is the very breath sustaining you now. Ephesians 1:11 declares, "In him we have obtained an inheritance, being predestined according to the plan of him who works all things according to his will." This inheritance is not just future, it is present. Peace when chaos surrounds you, joy that survives sorrow, authority to stand when others fall, access to heaven's presence even in the valley. Chosen one, your scars did not disqualify you, they qualified you. Your inheritance was never in what you lost, but in what cannot be taken. The Spirit within you, the anointing resting on you, the covenant sealed over you. This is why the enemy fought so hard. Not because you were empty, but because you were loaded with promise. Not because you were weak, but because you were carrying treasure in earthen vessels. 2 Corinthians 4:7 reminds us, "We have this treasure in jars of clay to show that the power is from God and not from us." You may feel fragile, but inside you is unshakable glory, the treasure the enemy could never steal. So today heaven whispers, remember what is yours. Peace, authority, love, joy, purpose, destiny. This inheritance is not waiting for you to earn it. It has always been yours, and now is the time to walk in it. But inheritance always points forward, because what you carry is not only for you, it is for the destiny written over your life. There comes a moment, chosen one, when the veil finally tears, when the lies lose their grip, when the wilderness has done its work, when authority is recognized, inheritance is remembered, and you finally see yourself clearly. This is awakening, not the kind the world talks about, not simply an emotional high or motivational push. This is the deep unveiling of who you really are in the eyes of heaven. For so long, you saw yourself through the lens of pain. You saw yourself through rejection, through shame, through what was taken from you. You measured yourself by the words of others, by the labels of the world, by the failures of your past. And because of that, your reflection was distorted. But when heaven opens your eyes, the distortion breaks. You look in the mirror and for the first time, you recognize the truth. I was never ordinary. I was never forgotten. I was never worthless. I was chosen all along. 2 Corinthians 3:18 says, "And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory." This is the awakening, the unveiling of your true face, your true identity, your true reflection in him. It is like stepping out of a cave after years of darkness. At first, the light feels overwhelming. Your eyes squint, your body hesitates, because you are not used to the brilliance, but slowly, you adjust, and then you realize, this light was always your portion. You were never meant to live in shadows. Chosen one, your awakening is the realization that you carry glory, not glory of your own making, but glory bestowed on you before time began. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead lives in you. The same authority that parted seas, shut lions' mouths, and raised prophets to their feet pulses through your veins. This is why the battles were so fierce. This is why the silence felt unbearable. This is why the lies were so loud. Because the enemy feared this moment, the moment you would awaken to who you truly are. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you know it, you cannot unknow it. And once you walk in it, nothing can stop you. Think about Gideon. He saw himself as the weakest, the least of his family, but heaven called him mighty warrior. When he awakened to that truth, his whole life shifted. So it will be with you. The labels of weakness fall, the identity of heaven rises, and you step into the fullness of who you are. This awakening is not just revelation, it is revolution. It changes the way you carry yourself, the way you pray, the way you dream. You stop asking, "Am I enough?" And you start declaring, "I was chosen for this." You stop wondering if you belong, and you start moving as one who knows the earth itself is waiting for your manifestation. Romans 8:19. And here is the beauty. Once you awaken, you also awaken others. Your very presence becomes a mirror. Your testimony becomes a key. Your life becomes a signpost that points people back to their own true identity. But this awakening is not just about you, and not just about others. It is also about alignment with heaven's greater plan. Because once you finally know who you really are, nothing remains the same. Your past no longer defines you. Your present no longer limits you, and your future no longer terrifies you. You walk with clarity, with courage, with conviction. Chosen one. This is the unveiling you've been waiting for. The moment where you finally step out of borrowed names and false labels. The moment you see yourself through heaven's eyes and embrace the truth. I am chosen. I am set apart. I am called. And I am ready. But there is one last piece to this journey, because seeing yourself clearly is powerful, but sealing that identity is even greater. And in the conclusion, we will tie all of this together. The lies that fell, the wilderness that shaped you, the authority that crowned you, the inheritance that restored you, and the awakening that revealed you. So that when you leave this message, you will never question your identity again. Chosen one, now the veil has fallen. The lies that tried to define you no longer hold power. The wilderness that once felt like punishment has revealed itself as preparation. The authority you carry is undeniable. The inheritance you thought was lost is still yours, and the awakening has come. You finally see yourself clearly. For too long, you lived under names that never belonged to you. For too long, you measured yourself by the opinions of people who could not see your worth. For too long, you believed that rejection meant you were forgotten. But heaven has always known your true name. 1 Peter 2:9 declares, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." This is who you are, not an accident, not ordinary, not forgotten. You are chosen, you are royal, you are holy, you are his. And once you see yourself as heaven sees you, everything shifts. Your prayers shift from begging to declaring. Your steps shift from hesitation to confidence. Your dreams shift from fear to faith. Because you finally understand, you were never who they said you were. You were always who heaven declared you to be. Chosen one, do not shrink back. Do not apologize for the anointing on your life. Do not lower your crown to fit into places you've outgrown. Your identity is sealed. Your inheritance is intact. Your awakening is here. Now declare this with me. Lord, I reject every false name that was spoken over me. I release the lies of rejection, shame, and fear. I embrace my true identity. I am chosen. I am set apart. I am anointed. And I will walk in the fullness of who I am, with boldness and faith. If this word confirmed what your spirit already knew, seal it now. Like this message. Subscribe to this channel and comment "I am chosen" as a prophetic act of faith, declaring that you embrace your true identity. Chosen one. The world tried to bury you under names that never belonged to you. But heaven has called you by your real name all along. And now it's time. You finally know who you really are.